All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the 2-1 Seattle Seahawks. For some reason, even though this team has put up 37 points in back-to-back weeks, people are still so obsessed with the context of this. Oh my God, they lost to the Rams. It was week 1, folks. Carolina. It was an impressive victory, especially in the second half. They were actually losing at halftime, but there are things that this team needs to clear up. They are missing pieces all over the board. Tight end, offensive tackles, so many defensive backs, but nonetheless, they are 2-1. They are 4th in the league in scoring offense, and while their defense is currently ranked 3rd to last in the league, they're giving up 29 points per game. There is reason to not be concerned. All right. First off, they're missing 3, I would argue, extremely important defensive backs. And then Jamal Adams will be making his return, or I should say his season debut, this upcoming Monday night against the New York Giants. But keep in mind, what bugged the Seattle Seahawks last season? It was yards per rush. It was rushing yards. It was any statistic that had to do with rushing. This past weekend, they held Carolina to just 3.1 yards per carry and only 44 rushing yards overall. And as we just alluded to, no, it wasn't because Seattle was running up the scoreboard and they put up 37 points. The Carolina Panthers were winning at halftime, 13-12. This Seattle Seahawks defensive line, their defense in general, they are stopping the run. So we're going to talk about a couple of different things, some good and some bad for this Seahawks team in tonight's video. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Seahawks fans, you guys blessed me last year. It was like my 4th ever NFL video. You guys blessed it, and you've been blessing them ever since. If we could get tonight's video to 500 likes, that would mean the world to me. So that rush defense, the defense in general, you know, we said it all summer. The Seattle Seahawks last year, first off, we're not supposed to win 9 football games. They were beating San Francisco at halftime. They were beating the best team in the NFC at the time. At that point in time, the San Francisco 49ers were a complete and utter juggernaut, and they were beating them at halftime. But then second half, the defense begins to crumble, and the offense just couldn't keep up. So in the first 2 games, the Seattle Seahawks defense is only allowing 2.9 yards per carry. That 2.9 yards per carry that Seattle has allowed through the first 3 games in this season, that is 3rd best in the National Football League, and it is 2 full yards better than what they did last season, where they gave up 4.9 yards per carry. 4.9 yards per carry. Somehow there were 7 other teams that were worse than that. This, kind of feels like college here. But altogether, the Seattle Seahawks defense gave up the 3rd most rushing yards last year, over 2,500. They gave up 2,500 rushing yards last season. I mean, that was the emphasis of the offseason, and that's why you brought in guys like Jarran Reed. That's why you made the big-time addition of Dre'Mont Jones. And as we know, that free agency, especially early on, Seattle was striking. They were striking while the iron was hot, and it's a little, out of character for the Seattle Seahawks in past off seasons where it's like, wow, they see something here. And once again, we have to allude to, they were projected 4 or 5 wins at this point last season, and they went 9-8, and they had a top 10 offense and the 28th ranked defense, and they addressed everything they needed to address in the draft, in free agency, you name it. Now, one thing that's been a huge pain in the Seattle Seahawks thorn has been a couple of things. Red zone efficiency, which they were horrible this past Sunday. Pete Carroll was not pleased with it. We've seen it for a couple of weeks now. They were just 3 of 6. Shout out to Myers for going 5 of 5, having a career day kicking those field goals. Field goals are extremely important. We always forget until you have a great special teams unit or a bad special teams unit. But it's penalties and 3rd downs. So currently, right now, the Seattle Seahawks, they're 28th in the NFL in 3rd down conversions. All right, just a 30.3% conversion rate. So why? Well, they've had 13 plays of 3rd and 8 or more, including 5 plays of 3rd and 16 or more through their first 3 games. So this stat here, their runs on 1st and 10 are averaging just 3.36 yards per rush. So there's a couple of things that go into this. And keep in mind, the Seattle Seahawks, despite their 3rd down issues, despite their red zone issues, despite these stupid penalties, are how do you fix this? Well, first off, getting your tackles back, getting your offensive line healthy, that's going to make a huge difference. Also, your offensive line in the first 4 to 6 weeks, at least in the regular season, it just takes time to click. All right. You see offenses start very slow, which is why it's been awesome to see the Seattle Seahawks putting up 37 in back-to-back weeks. Penalties are also a huge reason. This past weekend against Carolina, they were shooting themselves in the foot what felt like the entire game. They only had 8 penalties. I mean, 8 is way too many penalties for 82 yards. Those are drive killers. They're momentum killers completely. The Seattle Seahawks as a team currently have 24 penalties through the first 3 games. And as you can assume, that's not a good statistic. They rank 27th in the NFL. So yes, it's not all perfect. It's not all perfect, but is anybody worried about their yards per rush on first down with Kenneth Walker, especially after that performance this past weekend? What did Kenneth Walker do? 18 rushes, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 3 huge catches for 59 yards. The dude's becoming and was becoming a star in this league. I mean, last year in his rookie season where he blew everybody away, it doesn't end just there, though, folks. You have Zach Charbonnet, who kind of had his coming out party this past weekend, 9 rushes, 46 yards, 5.1 yards per carry, just like what he did in his tenure at UCLA in college. I know we all saw that hit to end that game against Carolina that Zach almost got that touchdown. So I'm not worried about yards per rush. I'm not worried about, first down efficiency or third down efficiency, because I think all that's going to be cleared up. Now, some things to look at or keep in mind heading into this upcoming game against the New York Giants, which thankfully their bye week is after that. I usually hate early buys, but the Seattle Seahawks bye week happens to be in the 5th week of the regular season, which is very convenient because they have certainly caught the injury bug. But some things are just 2 players, TJ Lockett and JSN. Now, first off, Geno Smith, he's having a really good season. 68.9% completion percentage. He's throwing 245 yards per game. He's got 4 touchdowns and that 1 interception where he was big bro and JSN saying, that's always on me. That's never on you. It's important to keep these rookies' minds fresh, keep their confidence high. But we have barely seen JSN. And, even though Lockett had a phenomenal game against Detroit, we didn't see him much against the Rams, and we didn't see him much this past weekend against Carolina. He's coming in with 13 catches, which is great, but he's got just 103 yards on the season. And then JSN, he's only got 9 catches for 57 yards. So some things to keep in mind. Will Disley was also injured. Jake Bobo caught a touchdown pass, but these are things we discussed in like yesterday or the day before Seahawks video. So that's it for tonight, man. I appreciate you guys watching it. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. I want to hear a score prediction down below for the Seahawks Giants game this upcoming Monday night. We'll definitely get a video out for you guys before that game arrives. But that's kind of the whole point about the Seattle Seahawks right now is they've just put up 37 back-to-back weeks. They're a top 5 offense. Their yards per rush defensively and their rushing defense in general has been through 3 games solved. They're missing pieces and they're still winning, and it's just not efficient. The first half on Sunday's game was not efficient. They come around. I mean, they could have put up 60 points easily if their red zone efficiency in that first half went a little bit differently. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your nights, and we will see you next.